and welcome to another Connor Speaks show. I'm Laura, your host, and today I am joined by the legendary Winston Stewart. Winston, say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm legendary. I like that. Legendary.
Legendary, absolutely legendary. For those of you who don't know, Winston is the founder of Wincon Security here in the Greater Toronto Area, one of the most finest security companies, consulting firms in the whole of Toronto, might I say Ontario or Canada or even more, across the world. All right, so Winston, great to have you here.
Thanks.
Tell everybody about what your biggest thing is. How do you build your business? How did you build it? What was your secret?
Yeah, I think what we talked about was the almost called the evolution of the business relationship, and I think if we look back at the early days, and when I say early days, is before the whole technology boom with emails and all sorts of different devices and technology, business really was done based on relationships, face-to-face relationships.
And so what do you do?
And for me, that's how I built my business, just on face-to-face relationships from day one all the way back in 1992, and something that proven to me that was a big part of our success.
Okay, cool. So now, one of the things that you talked about was the fact that you would pick up the phone and you would call your clients, you would call people, which sometimes I have a struggle with, because in today's day, I love the video thing and I like getting behind a text and not texting or not picking up the phone. But you said that was one of the most important things for you, how you're able to build Wincon.
Yeah, I found that, picking up the phone was the key thing for me. Picking up the phone, having a conversation, because that allowed me to see a few different things about my client or potential client. How do you know if your client is having a bad day if you don't pick up the phone and call them? You're not necessarily going to get that, through an email. So I used to see where if I picked up the phone, if it was I had to reach out to a current client to just have a conversation, either something great or something bad happening. By picking up the phone, you're able to probably just have a conversation where you could come up with a solution. You could probably de-escalate the anxiety with that client, especially being in the field that I'm in, where you couldn't convey that via email or any other digital source, right? And I actually found that I was able to probably get a lot more business because I'm having a conversation with the person and I can actually pull information, extract information from that person while I'm actually talking to them. It's just about tone of voice, emotions, feelings, and so on that you cannot convey in today's business world. So I have this thing where I call it the broken business relationship. And it really looks at the fact that we've kind of done away with picking up the phone and calling and actually having a conversation and getting that intimate relationship with your client or potential client.
How would you encourage people or give people some tips as to how they can use the phone to their advantage to grow their business and to build up their clients and their network? How would you tell people to start doing that?
You know what? I think the first thing we gotta look at is really go back to the basics of business, right? Is business just a transactional exercise that we do where it's just about I'm trading you services for payment? Or is it going back to how business was always done, where it's all about the fundamentals of relationship? If you're going to really choose relationship, then it has to be about the intimate part of that relationship, which is to have face-to-face, right? Which is to have to converse and so on, right? And I really would implore people, in whether you're in small business, medium, corporate, is really to start looking at how do I enhance that relationship? Can I really enhance that relationship through sending emails, whether they're short, long, whatever? Or can I really enhance that relationship by being intimate, having that one-on-one, sitting across from that person that I'm trying to have this business relationship with. And I really believe like a lot of the practices that we have in business, you're now seeing them in personal world. I see some of my employees where they're talking to each other. We're in the same office, but it's on their smartphones. They're having conversations where it's like, geez, whatever happened to that area where you sit down and you just talk, right? So I think if people, want to look at being successful, even bit more successful, is really to have that one-on-one relationship. And I think the funny thing is that now you pick up the phone for a prospective client and they're actually shocked that someone's actually talking to me, or someone wants to just, hey, let's meet where we can just have a face-to-face talk, and they're surprised. So, if your clients are saying that, right, just imagine your bankers are probably saying the same thing, and people don't realize it. That, like, for me, I really believe that instead of doing that one deal that you're probably getting now because, hey, I've emailed my proposal, I've emailed a request for reference. Just imagine what you could be doing if you're actually talking to that person, where they can actually hear who you are through your voice, and they can actually build some type of relationship through that, where they're like, geez, you know what? This guy is not just, or this woman is just not, it's just not transactional. They really care about my business. They really care about me, and they really care about what my business is about. And I can tell that in the way they convey what they just told me. You cannot do that through an email. There's no way.
I totally agree with you. Winston.
Yes.
Now, since you're the master of the telephone, tell us what are some of the benefits that you have experienced with Wincon Security? Because I guess people may say, okay, yeah, Winston is talking all this about getting on the phone, but I can build my business and grow my network by sending emails and texts and things like that. Tell people, what are some of the benefits that you have actually seen in your business by using the phone?
So for me, it's and people who say, yeah, they can build their network by, doing it through digital means. Of course you can, right? What type of network are you trying to accomplish, right? What I've seen and benefited from is the fact that in my industry, I can point back and show you all of our client base that we've had since 1992. That's 27 years. This year's gonna be 28 years. That just doesn't happen. You don't do that by just having this kind of, digital relationship. You do that by having one-on-one relationships where the client builds trust with you. They know you. You're interacting with them. You're getting in front of them. You're sitting down. Whether times are good, times are bad, you have to be able to build that relationship that way, right? So for me, it's basically being able to look at these corporations that we've been dealing with since 1992. Now it's 2020, and it's half the time, I'm not sending them emails, right? Half the time there's an understanding because they know, geez, you know what? Well, that's Winston, and this is what Winston would do, and they understand the pressures that we're under, whatever the situation is. I'm able to kind of, grow. I'm able to resolve situations. I'm able to respond to our clients because of that relationship, right? My clients could easily go to our competitors if we didn't have that relationship. And I think it's because I understand the building blocks as what's needed to establish a relationship, why we've been so successful. So yeah, you can have relationships or build business relationships via, emails or different forms of technology, but are you looking long-term, right? Or are you just looking to get a customer who's going to say, well, geez, you know what? I get a quote, I get a proposal, I gave them a PO. There's no relationship there. I'm going to do that with their competitor tomorrow or next year. Right?
Okay. So, and definitely you set yourself up apart from your competitors, apart from everybody, when you offer that personal touch and you're not afraid to pick up that phone. And there's another thing that you talked about when we were chatting about picking up the phone when times are tough. Let's say you have a challenging situation, right?
Yeah.
How just not being scared to pick up the phone and talk to that client and resolve the issue rather than hiding behind a bunch of emails back and forth. That can be the difference between saving a client and building a stronger relationship or losing one, right?
Definitely. Yeah, and it's not just in the business world. I mean, I even think about my own personal relationship. If, something's happening between my wife and myself, it's very easy for me to pick up the phone and send her a text and say, let's talk about this or whatever. And I'm willing to have that conversation via text, but deep down, that, hey, this is not right, right? With the customer, there's a bad situation. Yes, you can send an email to kind of cover that situation or talk about that situation, but there's not, and then most times that conversation via email cause you probably to send 5 or 6 or 7 different emails, because now you got to explain, and that client is on the other end reading your email and saying, well, they're taking it a certain way that you're not really, saying, as opposed to picking up the phone where you can say, hey, listen, you know what? Here's what happened. There's dialogue going back and forth, right? You're able to de-escalate the situation or calm the client down because you're hearing the frustration in their voice or the concern or the anxiety, and you're able to kind of deal with that. How do you do that on an email platform? So one of the things I implore my staff managers to do is, guys, you know what? Something happens. First of all, get from behind the email, pick up the phone, own the situation, take responsibility for the situation, and quickly turn to, here's how we're going to resolve it. How are you feeling about the situation, and how are you feeling about what I'm telling you about the solution that we're going to put in place or that we have put in place? Because you have that client who's gone from 10 of anxiety or frustration or anger. Now you've actually kind of de-escalated them where they said, okay, you know what? You've heard me. I understand that you've put something in place and we have a plan. Let's go forward, right? That doesn't happen via email, right? Because even after the email, you can send the email if you want, but you're still wondering, geez, is the client okay? Are they feeling okay? Right? So you're still having all that thoughts in your head anyways, right? And the client is probably still having the same thoughts in their head because they're saying, oh, well, did they really mean it? Because they just sent me an email and it's like, okay, after that regards, an exclamation mark down at the bottom, did they really get how angry I am or how concerned I am about the situation, right? But by picking up the phone, you're able to kind of hear, and they kind of feel like they've been listened to, right? And that's relationship, right? That's a business relationship. So what you've now done is set up the next time that something goes wrong, right? That they said, geez, well, I know how these guys deal with them because they picked up the phone, they call me, we talked, we dialogue, and I feel good that they're able to handle the situation next time, right? So it's to the benefit of how you actually manage your business and how you do your business. But I really believe the same thing with the staff, right? And we're talking about this in the sense of getting business and enhancing your network and so on. But it's how do you manage your staff? It's very easy to send, your staff emails and so on. I love to get my staff in so we can just sit down and we can just talk about the situation. I'm going to still write them up at the end of it, but we're going to have that dialogue, right? Because it's very, very important. I think when they can see, I can hear what they're saying, they can understand what I'm saying, but we're having that dialogue, which I think is very, very important. That's also missing today in the working world.
He wrote me up, but yet he told me what he was writing me up for. So that made it
Exactly.
good. Makes it easier. Makes it much easier.
That's right.
All right. So listen, Winston, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your experiences and your results of using the phone in building Wincon Security. So everyone, if you have not yet connected with Winston and Wincon Security on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, you need to connect with them. So I'm going to put Winston's link in the comments and make sure that you connect. And if you need any security work for your company, if you need some security consulting, then you know who to go to, right? Who should they go to, Winston?
Wincon Security, of course.
Of course. All
Of
right.
course.
So until we talk again, Win, it's been fun talking to you, and I look forward to doing it again.
All right,
Absolutely.
Laura.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good
All
day.
right.